Okay, 1636, and today I've been asked if I could show you how I make my brackets, and then I'm also going to show how I make the shin clips or bra loops, whatever you want to call them. So I already have them, everything is already cut out to the length that I use. See the long one, I have it cut out to about almost 5 inches, so 4 7/8. The short one I have cut out to about 4 1/8. So yeah, a touch bigger than 4 1/8. So it's about what was that? About 108 millimeters for the short one. The long one I have it at about 125 millimeters. And then the shin clip, that one's about 105 or 4 1/4. So I have this handy little jig I made for the shin clips. I'm sorry, for the brackets, torso brackets. I'm going to show you both ways that I do them. And then I just barely started doing this one, so still not quite 100% on it. This side is for the short side. This side is for the long side. I actually I almost forgot, I still need to trim this one. I actually need to trim this one right about here. Trim this wood out, because I can't quite get my tool in there. So I'll just have to adapt and overcome. So that's basically how they're going to be set up. That way they're all the same. Mr. No Stripes, his are a lot shorter. But I mean, I make these, so I just make them a little bit longer, easier to work with. So I'll show you the shin clip real quick. So I just go about halfway, bring them down so they're together, equal amount. And I go ahead and pinch it together here. So you can use the other, the actual shin clips, or bra clips, but I don't like them because they're really small. That one's actually a little long. So I'll get the ends, and then I'll twist them. I'll get the other end, I'll twist it. I'll come over here, and I'll just turn it down. So these are still just a tiny bit crooked, so I can just bend them back together just a smidge. So there you go. And you can make these shorter or longer, just depends on how you want to do it on your shins. The actual bra clips are really tiny, so they're really hard to work with. So again, I'll fold them in half. Kind of just guesstimate where the halfway point is. And then if I'm off, I'll just tweak it a little bit to where they're about halfway. And then if it's not totally correct, I'll just cut off whatever and make them both straight if I want to. So like this one's just a little bit long. Or I should say just a tiny bit longer on the one side. So I can just cut it and make it straight. I'll bend the end over, twist it over, twist the other end. Go just a little bit more. So the reason why I do that, I don't sew them anymore. The reason why I do that is when let's say I make the elastic, I'll burn a hole, I'll poke it through, and then it'll pretty much be going through like that. And I'll throw some glue, this will be on the inside, and then I'll throw some spray, and then I'll put them both together, and then I'll hold it like that, and basically it'll be held in. So this piece right here is keeping it from coming out, and the glue is just keeping it folded over. And then there's the clip. So once I glue it in, it just clips in. The hole will be behind here, and I glue in it. So you don't have to make them this long, but I just find it's easier to actually clip them when they're a little bit longer and shorter. And then I come back and make the little, and again I'll probably adjust it just a little bit more, see how that one's tweaked more. These aren't. I'll just tweak it just a tiny bit to make it to where it actually hooks. You don't want to tweak it too much, hook it too much, because then it's going to be harder to pull out. So let's say I don't want it that long. I can easily just trim a little bit of it off. So now this one will be shorter. I got super glue on there. I had to unplug a hole. But it doesn't matter, none of this is going to be seen. So, and then I just turn it. So again, it's going to be, once I do a little bit of turning here and there, then it kind of untweaks it, or tweaks itself. So I just untweak it real quick, make it straight. And then there you go. So you can make them shorter or longer, whatever you want. And I used to, and you can do it if you wanted to, I used to actually hammer them down and make these just a little bit flatter. You could do that if you wanted to. It's just an extra bit that you'd have to do. Just put it on there and just hammer it just a tiny bit. Bring it in. It's actually probably better if I use an anvil, but, and then you can just keep squeezing it as much as you want. But you can have it like that or like that, it doesn't matter. Just make your hole just a tiny bit bigger. So if you don't want to sit there and make it as tight as you can just leave it like that and just make the hole that much bigger. Actually, that one went pretty straight. This one's just a tiny bit crooked. This is just baling wire, so I can easily manipulate it with my fingers if I wanted to. One more. And I can still, if I want to, I can still hammer these ends out to make it flatter. But that's just an extra step if you want to do that or not. And there's that one. So there they are. So again, you can go shorter or you can go longer. That's how I make those. I'll show you real quick on these. So I'll do first the one just how I normally used to do it. So I'll just grab the end. This is the shorter one. I just grab the end and then just kind of pull it in. And I flip it over and tweak it a little bit on the other side. Pinch it together. There, and now it's done. So you just got to be careful. Sometimes these bend. Do the same thing with the other side. And this will move on you quite a bit. Pinch it together. So now I have two ends. I can come here if they're not quite lined up. I can tweak them just a little bit. Make sure they're both somewhat straight. And I'll come here with my pliers. About halfway in the eyelet, I'll bend it. Another halfway in the eyelet, I'll bend it. I'll just make sure they're straight. And I'll come up here and do the same thing. About halfway, bend it. Actually, I don't mean halfway. I put it all the way in the end, and then I just bend it. kind of just tweak it just a little bit here. Make sure these two are lined up. That way, just put it in there. So you can see how doing it my way and then doing it the other way is just a little bit shorter the other way. So I'll do it one more time my way, my old way. So Mr. No Stripes, when he makes his are all pretty much the same. When I make mine, there's variants, especially this old way. They're going to be different. Just depends on where I grab it, how I twist. Sometimes the wire might move on me. Sometimes it might go pretty smoothly. So they're all going to be just a tiny bit different each time I do it. I've made so many of these, probably at least 1,000. I could just sit here and make a pair in like 40 minutes, cutting them out, putting them together. So that's the old way. I'll show you real quick how I do it the new way. So now I have this jig made up. I just put it in here, and I just turn it until it touches. I pull it out, put it back in, and I do the same thing, turn it. So now I got that little, so I just tweak it a little bit, close it. Oops, just bent that. So this is very easy to bend until you're done. You can do the same thing, put it in, twist it. So just one little crooked, just straighten it out. I'll put it in, and twist it just that little bit. And I'm going to pinch it closed. I'm just going to straighten these two out, make sure they're straight. There you go. So again, it's a little bit higher here, but that's just going to happen. So now the next thing I do, I put it in here, put this over. I gotta open my pliers up, so I just put it in here, hold it right about here, and I just pull it up, take it out, put the next side in, do the same thing, hold it there, tweak it, pull it out. So now I got the bend. It's a little bit crooked. Just come in here, straighten it out. Okay, now it's straight. Make sure those are straight. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kind of, oops, gotta open this. I'm going to come here, pinch it flat, and I'm just going to bend it down. And if I wanted to make it just a tiny bit straighter, I can do that. Pull it back up, put the next one in, bring this in here, hold it down tight, pull it down. There we go. All done. And then I just got to come over here. Maybe tweak it just a little bit so that they're both straight. There we go. And then I can tweak it just a little bit here. So what I could do, when I put them in too, this can bend just slightly. You can bend it either way. So once you make your screws, or make your holes, put your screws in, and you're bolting it in. If it doesn't quite fit, you can always tweak this part, bend it in and out just a little bit. And basically, you put this one in there, and then that way it can kind of float around just a little bit. And then once you put your front one in, or your top one in, the bigger one, this is just for the chest. This one's the chest, the rest of these are the other brackets. Just goes like that, just like that. So it doesn't move as much in the top, it can move a little bit on the bottom. The bottom ones can move, the top ones pretty much stays. But it's elastic and it can bend on you. And these, I didn't sew these. This is just glued in, so it's nice and kind of hard right there. You could sew them if you want to, but I don't have a sewing machine, and I'm not going to send in somebody so they can make me 100 of them to sew up when I can just easily glue them. Oops, put that one goes here. Alright, so I'll show you one more time, and then I'll go to the big one. So all of these, basically they're the same thing when you put them in. Top or bottom, doesn't matter. I just tighten that. Kind of straighten it just a tiny bit. So when I put the second side in, I make sure where it's hooked is facing me. So when I do turn it, and I flip it the other way, straighten it out, they're both facing the same way. That way, you only have to tweak it a little bit. You don't have to do like a full turn on it. So it's straight or straight enough, because I mean these, you're gonna tweak them anyways when you go to put them on, because these are made out of galvanized. So it's really not that strong. Once you tighten them though, it gets strong enough. Once everything's all bent, it's pretty strong then. Bend it there, pull it out, the next side in, same thing. Bend it up there. It's going to tweak just a little bit. Easy fix. You put it in here, open it up again, twist it down, go to the other side. So I'm holding it pretty tight here, going down. So this side, this one's actually was a shorter one than the one I just did, and you can see where it fits in. The other one kind of didn't, so now I tighten it, and if you want to, you can hammer it both ways. But again, once you put it in, it's going to tweak anyway, so. So that's pretty close. Just tweak it down just a little bit. There you go. So now I'll do a long one. So the long one, I'm doing the same exact thing, just putting it in, twisting it, putting it the opposite way. Oops, let me bend it. Okay. Go ahead and tighten it. Do the same thing with this side. So sometimes it does that. It really sucks when you're trying to bend it and it does it. It doesn't do it nearly as bad on this as when you're trying to do it manually. So if it's too big, I just choke up a little bit further down and bend it up. So when I go ahead and tighten it, it makes the loop a little bit smaller, so it's not quite as bad. So this one's turned just a little bit. I'm just going to turn it and straighten it out. You can see the wire is somewhat bent. That's going to happen. It's in a big old circular spool, so it's gonna do that. So I'm gonna do the same thing I did over there with this one. Put it on here. Make the ends. Take it off. Oops. Don't do it upside down. So this is tweaked a little bit. I'll just straighten it out once I'm done here. Pull it out. Straighten this out just a tiny bit. I think I messed up. One's a little bit longer than the other, but that's okay. We'll see if it's going to definitely affect it there. So I'm going to put it in there. Go again, this is going to be a little bit harder because I have to actually make it just a tiny bit smaller. I'm going to tweak it. So to make it sit that much flatter, I'm going to hammer it down just a tiny bit. So it gets part of that angle. So if I hadn't messed up on this side and made it longer, which I'm going to have to see if I can fix this, because there's no way it's going to fit in here. So you just kind of got to watch what you're doing over there when you're tweaking it. There we go. I don't think I had that over enough, so this should be better. Okay. Let's see. Yep, much better. Well, that's barely gonna fit. There we go. So that's gonna work, but not really work because I messed it up. I'll have to do it again. But it doesn't look pretty compared to the first one I made. I'll do it again. So it's there, but it's not pretty. I'll try it one more time. So this is really the first couple times I've tried this. So I'm still kind of working the kinks out on this one. So I didn't make the loop big enough. Use my pliers a little bit. There we go. All you really need this hole to be is big enough to fit a screw through. That's all you need that hole big enough for. So it all depends on how much you put in to there. So I barely put enough. So when I twist it, it doesn't come popping out. But it does like to move just like it did. But that's what the pliers are for, to kind of straighten it out. There we go. So these two are way off. Let's see, that's pretty close. Come back over here. So again with this one, I'm going to make sure I'm up high enough to where it's touching. There's that one. Now the next one. Okay. So I'm going to tweak these just a tiny bit. Okay. Tweak it here just a little bit. Make it just a little bit straighter. Come back to the other end. It should fit in there, it does. It should fit in there, it does. So this one is just harder only because I have to trim probably a 1/4 of an inch of this wood here and here off so that I can get my pliers in there far enough. I didn't really think about it. Well, there's a screw here, so I had to make this part go farther back, or I would have made it go towards the end. But this piece of wood I didn't have one high enough to fit this arch compared to the other one. Fits on this arch once I shaved it down. That's actually a long one. Where's that short one at? There we go. So it fits on the arch better once I shaved it down, but this one's not high enough. So I just gotta go with what I can. Bend it there. But I'll be fixing this jig a little bit more. Bend it here. There we go. So now I can hold this end, kind of hammer it. I can hammer both ends. Make it just a tiny bit better. Okay. Let's see how much better this one is. So that one looks a lot better. I think I dropped the other one. What was that? Oh, here it is. One of these two. Let me see if I can find the mess. I think it's, yeah, it's this one. This is a messed up one because if you put it down, you can see it's just a little bit shorter on one side than the other. This one is, they're both touching, and this one, they're both touching. So it takes a little bit of practice doing it that way. Plus it looks, this one looks a lot better than that one. It's really hard, the long one, to bend the long one with the pliers. This makes it a lot easier. If it was just a little bit shorter, I'd be able to do it a lot easier. But this makes it a lot easier to make a bunch than if I did it by hand. But I've made so many by hand, I can do it real quick by hand. And I just got to practice more, making more with this jig. But there's how I make mine. So I don't really remember how long they were, but that's pretty much what I use to make mine. Again, they're not all the same, but once you put them in, it doesn't necessarily matter because you can tweak these. You can bend them in or out to make them a little bit longer. You can bend these down just a little bit more. I make mine out of galvanized, I think it's, I want to say it might be aluminum, might be galvanized, I can't remember. But I make it out of aluminum, so it's real easy to bend. And then I think the one TK, Mr. No Stripes makes, he makes them out of maybe stainless steel or something. They're a lot thinner, the wire's a lot thinner. So maybe I might upgrade to get to the thinner wire. But I make all these for the people that come over and build. So it's something I make for free. I don't make any money off of these. And it's something that I would much rather, it's much easier to put armor together with this than it is the other way. All right, thank you.